Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Endless TBR. My name is Christian, and this is my YouTube channel where I love to talk about all things book related in my life. Thank you so much for being here and for clicking on this video. In this video, I'm going to be doing my September 2025 reading recap and ranking. I'm going to go through all of the books that I read in the month of September 2025, talk a little bit about them, and rank them in order from my least favorite read to my most favorite read. And as far as the month went, it was an okay month for me. Definitely not one of my strongest. The good news is I had set aside 7 books that I wanted to read. I did finish 7 books. They're just not necessarily the 7 books that I had set out for myself. I got a little bit into audiobooks, and I didn't finish the 2 Star Wars books that I had done in my September TBR month. I did not finish those, and I replaced them with a couple different audiobooks. The main reason is just to give you a little backstory on my life. Work has kind of shit has hit the fan a little bit. I've been working a lot of overtime, coming in on my days off, coming home from work just exhausted and falling asleep at like 9 o'clock like an old person. And so I've had a lot less time to read at home. The good side is that one of the books that I had to read this month, it was part of the book club that I have with my friends. It was only available in like Kindle Unlimited, so I decided to listen to it in audiobook form. I really have not ever listened to audiobooks before, but I've always wanted to get into it. So when I saw that this book wasn't available in print, I was like, let me do the audiobook. I have a pretty long commute to work, so it's like 30 to 45 minutes there, 30 to 45 minutes back. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to start audiobooks. So that book was called Dry Hard by Nick Spalding. I listened to it on my commute to work. I really enjoyed it. It was just such a nice, easy book to listen to that I decided to kind of make Nick Spalding my guy for audiobooks. And I finished 3 of his audiobooks, and I'm currently in the middle of a 4th one right now. So that is where the audiobooks kind of subbed in for the physical books for this month, just because I've spent a lot more time driving this month than I normally do. So that's a little backstory on why the books are different. But let me go through the books that I did read this month. So this is going to be in the order that I read them. Those books are Del Toro Quest 2 by Emily Rada. And then I read On Writing by Stephen King. Then I read The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell. Then comes the first audiobook I finished, which is Dry Hard by Nick Spalding. And then I have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And then I ended out the month with 2 more Nick Spalding audiobooks. We have Grave Talk and Fat Chance. So those are the 7 books that I finished for this month. I am currently almost done with Temptation of the Force. I have like less than 100 pages left. This is one of the 2 Star Wars books I had outlined for myself in my September TBR that I didn't finish. I'm just going to include this one in my October ranking video, though, because I've done most of the reading of this in the last 2 days. So I'm going to include this in October. But I did make some progress on it. I just didn't finish it. And then Beware the Nameless, which was the other Star Wars book, I'm just pushing back to like November because I have a whole other set of books that I want to read in October, which you'll see in another video. But now let's get into it, the nitty gritty. Let's rank these videos from my least favorite to my favorite. And as I like to always say with these videos, this is not like an objective list by any means. I'm not saying this is the worst book and this is the best. This is just based off of my preference as a reader and how much I enjoyed these books. So coming in at number 7 for the month is Fat Chance by Nick Spalding, the most recent audiobook that I finished. This book is about a couple who honestly, even though I just finished it, I don't remember exactly what their first names are. That's probably part of the problem I'll get into in a second. But basically, this couple, they are overweight and they get put in this challenge, kind of like The Biggest Loser, where they go off against other couples to see who can lose the most amount of weight in like 6 months or so. And then whichever couple does lose the most amount of weight in that time frame gets 50,000 pounds. Nick Spalding is a British writer, so it's in pounds, not dollars. But yeah, so it's basically like The Biggest Loser as a book, sort of. And what I will say about this book and all of Nick Spalding's books in general is they are just really easy, simple reads that are based around like comedy. Like he is a comedy writer. He tries to write his characters in these different situations where you can just get a good laugh out of it and just appreciate how ridiculous of like a concept that he builds. And so this book, when it comes to like that aspect, does achieve it. It's a simple read. It's very funny. There's a lot of different moments that are just absolutely ridiculous, like our characters, dealing with personal trainers, being in televised races where they have to, try to run like a 5K. All these different things that are just, lead to some pretty ridiculous and silly moments. So on that side, it does achieve being a fun book. On the other side, the two main characters whose names I cannot remember, they don't really stick out at all in this book. They don't have a super significant character arc. Like they're very one-dimensional characters in my eyes. Like mainly the only thing that happens with them is as they lose more weight, they become more confident, and they fit into better clothes, they become happier, they have more confidence at work. The book focuses a lot on like their sex lives and how that improves, but I can't really tell you too much else about their characters besides like what their job is and stuff like that. So that is where this book kind of falls short of the other Nick Spalding books that I finished for this month, but still a good time, still a fun read. Like I said, a nice, easy audiobook read to and from work. So that is my number 7 book. Coming in at my number 6 book, we have, makes me sad to put it this low, but it is Del Toro Quest 2. Del Toro Quest 1 is one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite fantasy children's series. I've talked a lot about it on this channel and how much I love it. So I was very excited to get into Del Toro Quest 2, and it just falls short of the first one in pretty much every way. It is a lot skinnier. Like it's a 3-book bind up as opposed to the first series, which is an 8-book bind up. So not nearly as much content, but overall, you still have most things I like about Del Toro Quest. You have a cool world, fun characters, great monsters, some very like honestly gruesome and horrific like scenes, which is one of my favorite things about the Del Toro Quest series. Is despite it being a kids series, there's just some like brutal action sequences in here. So all of that is there, but the third book in this bind up just feels so rushed. I really wish this had been 4 books because part 3 like has a solid middle, but the beginning and the end were just, it was like boom boom boom, like 2 chapters to like start it off and finish it up. And I really wish we had gotten a third book to kind of flesh out what was the beginning of book 3, and then leave a fourth book for like the climax and the finale of it. So that is why it does not rank as highly as book number 1, and was a bit of a disappointment for me. So I put it in at number 6 for the month. Coming in at number 5, we have my first Nick Spalding audiobook that I read, and that is Dry Hard. This was the book that I read as part of the book club that I'm in. And this book is the story of 2 parents who are just raging alcoholics, and they do all kinds of ridiculous and crazy stuff when under the influence. And basically, their daughter gets sick and tired of their drunk antics, and one day records a video of them doing crazy stuff and then posts it onto YouTube. And then the parents just get roasted on YouTube, people saying they're bad parents, they're ridiculous and stuff like that. So they decide to start a hashtag called DryHard, and they start to video document their process of getting sober over the course of the year and posting those videos to YouTube to prove that they are not bad parents. And a lot of what I have to say about Dry Hard is similar to Fat Chance. It's an easy book to listen to, good, easy enjoyment. I smiled, I laughed, I chuckled at a lot of the ridiculous moments that Nick Spalding can paint here. Um, the reason why I rank this one above Fat Chance, though, is I think the characters are a little bit better. Even though I can't relate to them entirely, I am not a drinker like pretty much at all. I maybe have like 12 alcoholic beverages a year. So I can't really relate to them too much, but there is a very clear character progression from where they start to where they finish beyond just like, the stuff that you would predict, like in Fat Chance, where I'm like, yeah, I would expect as they lose weight, they would get more confident. In this one, there's a little bit more like the parents actually have a few badass moments towards the end where they come to the rescue of their daughter and they use what they've learned in lessons throughout the book to achieve their goal at the end. And so, Dry Hard, I would rank higher than Fat Chance. Again, just a fun, simple book, not something that I would ever consider for like a 5-star review, but a nice, solid, like low to middle, like 4-star review. I would give that one. So that is Dry Hard. Coming in at number 4 is going to be A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, book number 4 in the 4 or 5, depending on how you look at it, in the ACOTAR series. And this one is a double-edged sword for me. So this whole franchise is just a double-edged sword for me. I really didn't like the first one, but then I really enjoyed the second and third one. This book, I would say, falls in the middle of those two. I didn't like it nearly as much as books 2 and 3, but I didn't hate it as much as book number 1. The main thing that holds it back is the point of view character of this book changes. It's Feyre in the first like 3.5 books, and then it changes to another character. I in the previous videos on this channel, I haven't said who that character is because I consider it a major spoiler for the franchise, so I still will not do that. But overall, the main character in this book I find a lot less likable than Feyre. Like, honestly, she was one of my least favorite characters throughout the series. So when I found out that she was the main character in this book, I was just like, oh, good God. Like, here we go. And this is a big book, too. This is 800 pages. Basically, for the first 200 pages, I felt that way. I was like, this is just going to be insufferable. Like, I do not want to read this. Around page 200, she starts to have redemption moments, and then by the end of the book, I wouldn't say I love her character still, but she's a lot more likable, and she goes through like a clearly, I would say, very strong character development throughout the course of the book. So I gave this one like a solid 4-star review. Not as good as Mist and Fury or Wings and Ruin in my opinion, but not a bad book either. The main thing that I really do appreciate about the ACOTAR series is there are some cool like fantasy elements in here, like the world building, the different courts and how they interact with the human world and with like the other fairy societies, all the different like relics and characters and monsters throughout the world. And I would say this book does continue to contribute to that. More world building, more backstory on the land itself. And I really do like the main cast of characters in these books, like Asriel, Rhysand, Feyre, Elaine, like, Lucian, like all of those characters. I do like them, and it continues to develop them and add more on that front. So overall, a book that I would give a good review to, but not on my higher end of the ACOTAR books. So that is coming in at number 4 for me. Number 3 is going to be the third and final Nick Spalding audiobook that I will talk about in this video. That book is Grave Talk, and this is definitely the most serious of the books that I've read by Nick Spalding this month. It's he's primarily a comedy writer for sure, and there's still comedy elements in Grave Talk, but this book has much deeper thematic elements than Fat Chance or Dry Hard 2. This book is basically about two characters, Ben and Alice. See, I know their first names, so that obviously right there shows that it's stuck in my in my head a little bit more. But Ben and Alice, and they are both struggling with grief. They've both lost somebody recently. Alice lost her husband, Ben lost his brother, and it just so happens that those two deceased individuals, their gravestones are right next to each other in a graveyard. And these two characters meet and they just begin to talk to each other about like the life of the person they lost, how they're handling their grief, the difficulties that they're struggling with in their life. And in this book, each chapter is a year has passed in between each chapter, and it's the same day every year where these two characters meet back up at the gravestones and they just reconnect and they talk about what progress they made dealing with their grief, what struggles they're still having. um, and you can tell right there that's a big change up from weight loss competition and sober YouTube videos. So yeah, a lot deeper themes, a lot more mature elements. There are still the comedy moments, still a couple laugh out loud moments, a couple smiles given throughout. But really, this is like by far the most in-depth character work that I've read from Nick Spalding. And while I didn't necessarily like cry, my fiance cried a lot when she finished this book. I did have a moment towards the end where I got genuinely choked up over it. So it clearly had a much more impactful emotional impact on me as I read it. So that is Grave Talk by Nick Spalding, what I would definitely consider to be his strongest book of the ones that I've read so far, and the most thematically rich. Coming in at number 2, so number 2 and number 1 is really tough for me because they're both 5-star books for me, hands down. I love both of them, but I just had to pick one or the other. So I ended up going with On Writing by Stephen King for number 2. I don't have too much to say about this book. It is amazing, but it's pretty much 50% autobiography, where Stephen King talks about his life and the parts of his life that he thinks influenced his writing career. And then the other half of it is him giving recommendations to the reader about how to be a better writer. And he gives like everything from like talking about like grammar, like how to use adjectives and pronouns well, to like how to build good characters and settings and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of invaluable information here. I had to read this as part of school, as part of a class that I'm taking, and I'm really, really glad that I did because it was just such a cool read. Like, I love Stephen King. He's an amazing dude, such an interesting guy. And so the autobiographical part was very interesting from that standpoint. And then as someone who wants to write, the writing portion was just invaluable as well. Like, so much good advice here. I wish I had more to say about it, but I don't. I just think you should check it out if you love Stephen King, and if you love writing and if you're interested in that part of his life. And then finally, coming in at number one, it is The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell. I'm going to brag for a moment here. I went to a meet and greet with Greg Sestero earlier in the month and I got his signature. So this is the first book that I own that has the author's signature in it. So it holds a special place in my heart now. But this book is just absolutely incredible. It is so funny. I am not like a laugh out loud person really when reading, but this book had me chuckling and grinning and laughing as loud as I've ever have during any book. Basically, what this book is about is there's this movie that's out there. It's called The Room. It came out in 2003. It's considered one of the worst movies of all time, but it's so bad that it's hilarious. And it's become like this cult classic movie that people will go to and do like midnight screenings of, and sell out theaters. And this book is about the making of that movie. So it follows Greg Sestero, who is an actor in that movie, and a character named a guy, not a character, a real person named Tommy Wiseau, who self funded The Room, starred in it, produced it, directed it. And he is just the weirdest, most bizarre guy of all time. And Greg meets Tommy. They become really good friends. Tommy convinces him to make this movie called The Room and to have Greg be an actor in it. And it's just uh, documentary, basically, not a documentary, but an autobiographical retelling of Greg's experience meeting Tommy, then moving to LA together, and then the making of The Room, and just the bizarre and disastrous things that happen in the making of that movie. And like I said, it is so funny. This book was actually adapted into a movie of its own called The Disaster Artist, featuring James and Dave Franco. And I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in this, watch The Room first, watch the Disaster Artist movie, and then read this book because it just adds so much to the lore of that whole situation. And I recently watched the Room movie after having read this book, and it adds so much more. You catch so many things that Greg talks about in this book when you're watching the movie. You're like, I remember he talked about that moment, and it just adds so much to the watching of the movie. So that is my number one read of the month, The Disaster Artist. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have read any of these books, I'd love to hear about your thoughts on them in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about them or how you would rank these books. I've decided to moving forward, I'm going to make my like recap videos separate from my TBR videos. So stay tuned. Very shortly, I'll be releasing a video talking about the books I plan to read in the month of October 2025. But thank you so much for being here, for watching this video. My name is Christian once again, and I hope you all have an amazing day. See you later.